My girlfriend just made it official. With her childhood friend. She posted a cozy photo of them together on her WeChat moments. I slowly typed a question mark in the comments. She replied with a red exclamation point, meaning she deleted my comment. My girlfriend has a partner. Then what am I, her official boyfriend, supposed to be? Chapter 1. My girlfriend made it official. A cozy photo with her childhood sweetheart appeared on her moments. I slowly typed a question mark. The reply I received was a red exclamation point. My girlfriend has a partner. Then who am I? Her actual boyfriend? 1. My girlfriend, Fan Chanchian, has been very busy lately because the project has reached a critical stage. I know she's a go-getter, and that's precisely what I admire about her. I feel for her. Fan Chanchian had a dinner engagement today, and I calculated the time to pick her up. Suddenly, a friend messaged me, telling me to check moments. As soon as I logged in, I saw Fan Chanchian's post. The text was simple. Soulmates finally together. The picture was also simple. A handsome man and a beautiful woman standing together, beaming, like a wedding photo. I was momentarily stunned. Why couldn't I understand the words? I slowly sent Fan Chanchian a question mark. Wow, instant reply. A red exclamation point. My girlfriend made an announcement, but the object of her affection wasn't me. And I had been deleted. A surge of anger rushed through me. I can accept a breakup, but not this sudden abandonment and betrayal. Without thinking, I dialed Fan Chanchian's number. Before I could speak, I heard a sweet voice on the other end. Hello? It wasn't my girlfriend's voice, but it was familiar. It was the voice of her best friend, Lin Wan. Just as I was about to speak, another man's voice came from the other end. Looking for Chanchian? I'll take it. Chanchian. Such intimacy? There really was another man? Anger welled up inside me, mixed with disbelief. My girlfriend, Fan Chanchian, is very clingy and actively distances herself from any men with ulterior motives, so I felt secure. But today's situation caught me completely off guard. Meanwhile, the phone seemed to be transferred to the man's hand. Two men, separated by a phone, one furious, the other contemptuous and disdainful. Where's Chanchian? Let her answer the phone. I frowned and spoke coldly. The man's voice on the other end was magnetic, accompanied by a contemptuous chuckle. And you are? Chanchian is very busy right now. She doesn't have time for you. Who am I? I'm Chanchian's boyfriend. Let her answer the phone. My voice was loud, almost a yell into the phone, and his voice was filled with disdain. You're Chanchian's boyfriend? Why didn't I know? Harassing girls is not acceptable. Stop bothering Chanchian, you shameless person. I almost exploded. Clearly, he was the man in the photo. I gritted my teeth. This bastard, stealing my girlfriend and daring to be so arrogant? Even if we were to break up, I wanted to hear it from Fan Chanchian herself. Does he really think I have no temper? I drove to the restaurant. It was the place Fan Chanchian had told me about earlier, saying I should pick her up after it was over. But in the blink of an eye, she made an announcement with another man. Who could tolerate this? It was late, and the restaurant was brightly lit. I knew which private room she had booked and pushed the door open directly. Bang! In an instant, everyone looked in surprise at the intruder. My sharp gaze seemed to overwhelm everyone. I was in a rage and didn't care about any of this, just barging in. I scanned the room, but I didn't see my ex-girlfriend, Fan Chanchian. However, I did see the man. He was tall and straight, his blue suit fitting him well, and his eyes held a hint of amusement and contempt as he looked at me. We locked eyes, and sparks seemed to fly in the air. The atmosphere was still and tense. Everyone vaguely guessed what was happening. I was familiar with some of Fan Chanchian's colleagues, and they naturally recognized me and wouldn't rashly throw me out. However, not everyone could hold back their anger, such as my girlfriend's best friend, Lin Wan. Chapter 2. She stood up, her face full of disgust when she saw me, frowning at me. Su Chung, how did you barge in? This is our company gathering. Don't disturb us. I looked at her coldly. Don't make me curse a woman. Lin Wan seemed frightened by my icy gaze and demeanor, her face turning pale. When have I, Su Chung, ever been treated like this? Sir, isn't it rude to speak to a lady like that? Even if you have something to say, please go outside first, okay? The man stood up and addressed me politely. He gestured for me to leave, clearly wanting to get rid of me. Just then, a voice sounded behind me with a hint of surprise. Su Chung, you're here? It was Fan Qianqian. She wore a purple suit, looking every bit the urban beauty. She smiled and walked towards me, wanting to take my arm. I stepped back slightly, dodging her. Fan Qianqian's face stiffened, obviously startled by my evasive action. She looked at me and spoke cautiously. "Brother, what's wrong?" She asked me pitifully, calling me brother. I'm a sucker for this, and my expression softened slightly. Looking at her, there seemed to be something hidden. My heart stirred. I turned to look at the man, a faint smile playing on my lips. "It seems the clown isn't me. Let's eat first." I chuckled softly and ruffled her hair. She seemed to enjoy this intimate contact, a smile on her face that clashed starkly with her urban professional attire. Seeing Fan Qianqian sit down with me, the man's expression stiffened, his face darkening. His voice was a little cold. "Qianqian, who is this gentleman? This is a departmental dinner. It's not appropriate for him to participate, is it?" Fan Qianqian instantly retracted the gentle smile she had for me, her eyes flashing sharply, her voice cold and serious. "Yin Huanran, why haven't you left yet? Since you said this is a departmental gathering, you should also leave." I almost laughed. Fan Qianqian is a gentle kitten when she's with me, but at the company, she's the ice queen. The man called Yun Huanran's expression faltered, looking somewhat embarrassed. "We haven't seen each other for a long time. I came to have dinner with you." "Have dinner with me? Did Lin Wan ask you to come?" Fan Qianqian waved her hand to interrupt him, her face slightly cold. Tonight's gathering was originally not for assistance. "Huan Wan, why did you presume to bring someone?" Hearing this, Lin Wan's face paled. Lin Wan's face was ashen. As if frightened, Lin Wan's voice carried a hint of a sob. "Qianqian, how can you say that to me? I just saw that Huan Ran had just returned to the country, so I brought him along. Huan Ran and you are childhood sweethearts. You must have a lot to catch up on, since you've been reunited." Too bad she ran into her girlfriend, Fan Qianqian, who wasn't buying it. "Lin Wan, I've told you. Don't involve personal feelings during work hours," Fan Qianqian said coldly. "Go home after work." "Why did you bring someone to the company gathering?" Fan Qianqian loved to curl up on the sofa and read novels after work. Every time she saw the hero and heroine separated because of a best friend's meddling and gossip, she would angrily pound the table. Therefore, she always disliked her best friend interfering in her relationship and always kept work and private life separate. Yun Huanran lowered his eyes, seemingly hurt. "Lin Wan was just being kind. I wanted to have dinner with you and take a walk afterward." I sneered inwardly. "Putting on an act? Aren't you? Talking about having dinner with you and taking a walk afterward. What did he mean? Trying to rekindle old feelings right in front of me?" From what had been said, I had already guessed the man's identity. Fan Qianqian's so-called childhood sweetheart. But so what? Chapter 3. Now that Fan Qianqian is my girlfriend, Lin Wan tried to help Yun Huanran steal her from me is really going too far. I've pretty much figured out what happened. They took advantage of Qianqian going to the restroom to mess with her phone. I just didn't expect to be so bold as to show up on the scene. Hearing Yun Huanran's words, Fan Qianqian's expression instantly became tense. She quickly took my hand and denied any involvement. "Honey, don't listen to his nonsense. I have nothing to do with him. He's just here as the project liaison." Yun Huanran's eyes widened, looking quite hurt. "Qianqian, just now you weren't." He tried to say more, but Fan Qianqian immediately interrupted him. "Don't call me that. Our collaboration will continue, but this gathering involves confidential company information, so please leave." Then she glanced coldly at her best friend and spat out 2 words. "Get out." Even without knowing what happened, judging by my reaction, it was most likely caused by her. Since she wanted to stir up trouble, my girlfriend didn't give her any face. Yun Huanran and Lin Wan's faces were grim. They opened their mouths but didn't say anything, turning to leave. The dinner continued, but everyone had their own thoughts, clearly surprised to have witnessed such a drama. A little while later, we excused ourselves, saying we had something to do, leaving the others to look at each other in bewilderment. Outside the private room, Fan Qianqian intimately linked arms with me. She couldn't maintain her ice queen image and started acting coquettishly. "What's wrong, honey? Don't be angry." I didn't say anything, just opened her WeChat moments and showed her. Although I knew it was probably nothing to do with her, I couldn't help but feel a little angry. Fan Qianqian's pupils constricted. The next moment, a hint of anger appeared on her face. I rarely see Fan Qianqian angry, but now I saw it, that furious look. Even I was intimidated. As expected, you can't mess with women. I knew someone was going to be in trouble. Honey, wait for me. I'll give you an explanation, she said through gritted teeth. At that moment, we saw Lin Wan and Yun Huanran still at the entrance of the restaurant. My teeth ached. They hadn't run away yet? Fan Qianqian quickly rushed over. Qianqian? How? A flash of surprise crossed Yun Huanran's eyes. His handsome face was indeed striking, his charming eyes captivating. But he was facing the enraged version of Fan Qianqian, and she wasn't buying it. Where's my phone? She asked Lin Wan coldly, her voice crisp. Her blunt words were hard for Lin Wan to accept. She swayed slightly, looking pitiful. Yun Huanran stepped forward, standing between the two, his voice gentle. Don't ruin your friendship because of me. Qianqian, your phone is with me. I accidentally took it earlier. He apologized softly. Fan Qianqian took the phone with a cold face and opened her WeChat moments. Almost instantly, her face darkened. Her moments was practically exploding. Congratulations. Congrats, a perfect match. Is that Yun Huanran? Has the CP I've shipped for so many years finally gotten together? These were Fan Qianqian's longtime friends, all coming out of the woodwork, private messages constantly popping up. But why isn't it Su Cheng? These were the friends who knew about me, constantly messaging to ask. Although we didn't often show off our affection in moments, we would occasionally appear in each other's posts. Now that the person had suddenly changed, who wouldn't be curious? And on the blacklist, my name was lying there. I took a look. Whoa. Good heavens, over 100 messages. Lin Wan, how dare you touch my phone and post on my moments? Chapter 4. Fan Qianqian was about to explode with anger, pointing at Lin Wan and scolding her in the lobby. The two were childhood friends with a good relationship, but after she got together with me, she naturally shifted her focus to me. But she never expected the other party to be so bold. Many people heard the noise and turned to look, their faces full of gossip. Qianqian, don't be so angry. Huanwan was just joking. Yun Huanran said, trying to smooth things over with a smile. Fan Qianqian pointed at him with a cold face. I told you not to call me Qianqian. Don't force me to fall out with you. Doesn't this have anything to do with you? It was also the first time I witnessed my girlfriend's full-throttle combat power being so explosive. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. At the same time, I received a call from home. What's wrong between you and Qianqian? Su Cheng, I'm telling you, if you don't want my daughter-in-law back, don't come home. Sure enough, when women erupt, no one can withstand it. My mom was even more terrifying when she interrogated me than my girlfriend was, so I quickly reassured her that nothing was wrong, just a small accident. 3. When I came back to my senses, there were 2 more police officers at the scene. Fan Qianqian was angrily telling them everything. Lin Wan's face was ashen, looking at her in disbelief. Qianqian, we're best friends. How can you do this to me for Su Cheng? You called the police to arrest me? She was trembling slightly, her eyes filled with fear. Yun Huanran's face was also a little ugly as he explained, Officer, we're good friends. We were just joking. Arresting people changes the nature of things. Lin Wan was crying like a rain-soaked pear blossom, leaving even the police officers speechless. This isn't something you can just dismiss as a joke. Unauthorized use of someone else's mobile phone and spreading information that affects their reputation has already caused mental harm. The officer's voice was serious and solemn. Qianqian, we 3 are good friends. You can't do this. Yun Huanran's words were cut off. Fan Qianqian's voice came. Officer, I suspect he instigated this. I hope you investigate together to see if he's trying to achieve some unknown secret by ruining my reputation. Yun Huanran's eyes widened. I couldn't help but laugh. Qianqian, for a man, you don't even care about your friendship with your sisters? You weren't like this before? Lin Wan was tearful and pale. I just thought that you and Brother Huanran were childhood sweethearts, and it would be a pity to miss out like this. I just wanted to help you. She said it with righteous confidence. I was speechless. It was simply absurd. What did she mean by it would be a pity if others missed out? What about me? Was I supposed to die? But Fan Qianqian didn't care about her performance at the moment and angrily said, Who I'm with is none of your business. Why did you blacklist my boyfriend? If you like Yun Huan Ran, go for it yourself. What's the meaning of involving me? Is that really for my own good? Fan Qianqian was firing on all cylinders. At the company, I'm your boss. Do I need you to teach me how to do things? If you bring people to department gatherings without authorization and any trade secrets are leaked, you won't be able to escape responsibility. Lin Wan was speechless. Yun Huanran's face was ugly. You don't trust me? Fan Qianqian was extremely domineering. Of course not. I was stunned on the sidelines. I originally thought I was coming to a confrontation and breakup, but I met two clowns instead. And Fan Qianqian's unwavering decision to call the police quickly clarified the whole story. The photos were secretly taken during business communication between the two, and the captions were secretly edited and sent by Lin Wan. She thought it would evoke her memories of the past. Unexpectedly, it triggered a furious barrage of punches. In the end, Yun Huanran had to ask Fan Qianqian's father for help before the matter was resolved. Chapter 5. However, for Fan Qianqian's reputation, Lin Wan and Yun Huanran needed to record a video explaining and apologizing. In front of the camera, the two read their apology. The previous incident was a joke. Please don't misunderstand. I sincerely apologize for the impact on Ms. Fan Qianqian's reputation. I watched from the sidelines, finding it somewhat amusing. What kind of childhood sweetheart drama was this? It was truly rather undignified. Fan Qianqian posted this video to her WeChat moments without hesitation, sparking a new round of heated discussion. It more or less offset the impact of the previous official announcement post. Before I could even unsheathe my 40-meter-long blade, my girlfriend's combo attacks had already sent him scurrying with his head in his hands. Qianqian told me that Yun Huanran was the son of her neighbor, a childhood playmate. Nothing more than that. There was no such thing as childhood sweethearts. As for Lin Wan, she was simply meddling. The company had recently taken on a new project, and Yun Huanran happened to be the person in charge on the other side, so they took a photo together. Unexpectedly, Lin Wan cropped the photo and posted it on her moments as an official announcement. It was truly speechless. Originally, Fan Qianqian didn't care, thinking it was just a reunion of old friends. But unexpectedly, on the very first day they met, the two of them started scheming. How could she tolerate that? Aren't you being too heartless? They're your old friend and best friend, I said with a smile. After this incident, the misunderstanding between us was cleared up. How can you say that about me, honey? You're the love I prayed for. My girlfriend blinked her watery eyes, her pitiful look making it impossible for me to get angry. Where's that little demon? Take this. I snorted and carried Fan Qianqian home for a lesson. I thought that after the falling out that night, Yun Huanran would know when to quit. But clearly, he wasn't one to give up easily. He added me on WeChat. Lin Wan had recommended him. I almost laughed. He sent me a photo. Fan Qianqian stood devoutly under a marriage tree, hands clasped together. The setting sun filtered through the leaves, casting a beautiful glow on her delicate side profile. She looked stunning. I didn't hold back my praise. Beautiful. She's my girlfriend after all. The other side seemed to be choked up. The message he sent a moment later was practically dripping with gritted teeth. My relationship with Qianqian isn't something someone who appeared halfway, can compare to. Today, we were praying for our relationship, hoping the God of marriage will bless us to be happy forever. I calmly replied, okay, delusional bro. It's Huanran, not delusional. He seemed exasperated. I smirked. I didn't care about Yun Huanran's provocations at all. After the previous incident, I knew that Qianqian's attitude towards Yun Huanran wasn't good at all. However, if I hadn't confronted them face-to-face last time, our relationship might have been affected, or even had a thorn planted in it. So, in a relationship, some things must be addressed directly. I casually dialed Fan Qianqian's number. A moment later, she seemed to have walked a bit further away, with the faint sound of wind rustling. Honey, guess where I am? Her tone was lively, and she seemed to be in a good mood. I was slightly taken aback. How did she know I wanted to ask where she was? I'm at the temple where we prayed for our relationship last time. Hee. I'm here to give thanks. Before I could speak, she told me herself. I was silent for a moment, then softly asked, Is Yun Huanran there too? Qianqian didn't expect me to ask this, but she still answered me seriously. Yes, the company's project will be developed on the land around the marriage temple, It's meant to be a point of attraction, so we came together for a site visit. Fan Qianqian's voice was natural, without a hint of guilt. However, upon hearing my question, her tone immediately became a bit explosive. Is he causing trouble again? Chapter 6. At this moment, Fan Qianqian's fiery temper was about to erupt. I sent her the chat log. Is he insane? We're here as a group for a site visit, and he says I came with him to pray for marriage. Qianqian immediately exploded. I rubbed my forehead. This girl was even more impatient than me. The next second, the voice call switched to video. In the distance, a group of people in suits and ties were discussing something. Most of them were familiar faces, members from the previous dinner. And off to the side, Yun Huanran stood beneath the marriage tree. Seeing Fan Qianqian look over, a bright smile spread across his face. It was infuriating. I gritted my teeth. Honey, come over here too, she said. I have to make him give up today. Yun Huanran is delusional. Her reaction was perfect. I was very satisfied. After all, we were blessed by the marriage temple. I slammed on the accelerator and sped over. It seemed the last lesson wasn't enough, so let's have another one. It wasn't far, and I quickly arrived at the scene. As soon as I got there, I saw my girlfriend standing at the entrance, looking in the direction I came from, the very picture of a wife waiting for her husband's return. I chuckled and pinched her cheek. Honey, you have to believe me. I'm so glad you didn't misunderstand me like those novel protagonists and just dump me. Her eyes were watery, and she looked at me with a worried-habab expression. I rubbed her head and softly said, I'm here. This girl was deeply influenced by angst-ridden romance novels, afraid that something would go wrong between us. How could I ever let go of such a girl? So, if anyone wants to steal her away, they'll have to see if my fists are hard enough. Yun Huanran's repeated intrusions meant he had only himself to blame. When Qianqian appeared arm in arm with me, everyone present greeted me. After all, I was the partner of their female boss. How could they not show respect? But there were exceptions. Yun Huanran's face was grim. It seemed he hadn't expected me to show up again so soon. He was like a keyboard warrior, invincible online, but once offline, he's a total failure. I glanced at him coldly, disdain in my eyes. Qian, Miss Fanny began. A single look from Fan Qianqian made Yun Huanran swallow the rest of his greeting. Today is a project site visit. Bringing outsiders isn't appropriate, is it? I smiled. Why was he still using the same old trick? I smiled brightly and extended my hand. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Su Chung, the second project manager. Yun Huanran was completely stunned by my words. You, how is that possible? His face paled slightly, and a look of shock flashed in his eyes. I shrugged, a smile on my face, but my eyes held a cold indifference. I'm dropping the act. I'm a rich second generation. He wanted to use his status to pressure me, but I wouldn't let him have his way. The Su family has deep roots here. Why would I be afraid of him? Back then, the Fan family was weakening and wanted to return to its peak through marriage. But Fan Qianqian wasn't willing, and neither was I. She said, I can succeed on my own. So she worked very hard and was known as the queen. But in her spare time, she would also go to pray for marriage. And then, on the way down the mountain, she met me. After an accident, we met, got to know each other, and finally came together. When we learned each other's identities, we were both stunned for a long time. It turned out we had a chance to meet much earlier. But it was fine. This encounter felt more like a fairy tale. I couldn't stand to see Fan Qianqian work so hard. Even though I knew she wanted to prove herself, I still helped her. This project was a collaboration between the Su and Fan families. I was also listed as a manager. I just usually didn't interfere with the specifics. So many people didn't know. Now, hearing my words, they were all a bit taken aback. Chapter 7. After others whispered explanations, they finally understood that I was the local bigwig. As the saying goes, even a mighty dragon can't suppress a local snake. But Yun Huanran really couldn't be considered a dragon. I get it. It must be you using your status to force Qianqian to be with you, right? Yun Huanran's expression shifted. Then he spoke with conviction. I looked at him, a hint of pity in my eyes. Yun Huanran, have I been too polite to you? Making you think you can judge me as you please? Who I choose to be with follows my own heart. How can you fabricate stories about it? Fan Qianqian glared at him, her face livid. His words were practically implying she was a gold digger. How could she stand for that? Qianqian, the three of us grew up together. How can an outsider affect our relationship? Just then, a female voice appeared. It was Lin Wan. I was starting to admire her persistence. How was she everywhere? Back then, the Fan family had risen in prominence, and the Yun family had returned from doing business abroad. Only Lin Wan's family remained ordinary. Out of consideration for old time's sake, Fan Qianqian had always treated her as a close friend, taking extra care of her and even bringing her into the company as her assistant. Unexpectedly, she had taken advantage of their close relationship to privately use Fan Qianqian's phone to post on social media. She was fired after that night. Unexpectedly, she ended up becoming Yun Huanran's assistant and was brought here today. She thought she could mend their relationship in this romantic place. But unexpectedly, I appeared in the blink of an eye. Outsider. Sorry to me, you are the outsiders. My brother and I are going to be family soon, getting married. Qianqian's eyebrows arched, sharp and assertive. These words left Lin Wan speechless. She thought a phrase like sisters before misters could coax Fan Qianqian back, but unexpectedly, she had always firmly chosen me. Do you think I insisted on choosing this location for what? Because this is where Su Cheng and I first met. Yun Huanran, your so-called tricks are truly laughable in my eyes. Fan Qianqian's words were sharp, giving him no face whatsoever. Yun Huanran's face turned ugly, losing his previous composure. As for Lin Wan, if you still remember any sisterly feelings, you shouldn't interfere in my relationship like this. You two better behave yourselves. My girlfriend snorted, not caring at all about their gloomy stares. The business world was like a battlefield, and she thrived in it. Would she be afraid of such small fry? Before leaving, Yun Huanran pulled me away from the others. His eyes were sinister, his fake mask torn off. Su Cheng, you think you'll have the last laugh. His tone was gloomy. It's not certain who will laugh last. The reason I'm still being polite to you now is because you and Qianqian are old acquaintances. If you really don't know what's good for you, I'll make you get out the same way you came crawling back. I retorted with a cold laugh. I had the confidence to say those words. The wind howled, scattering the words. I knew he wouldn't listen. Fortunately, I didn't plan to back down either. He, who will have the last laugh, isn't it obvious? 6. Our relationship progressed rapidly, and both families arranged to have a meal together, just in time to finalize the marriage. It was like an engagement dinner. Cheng, let me tell you, the last incident scared your mother half to death. If you dare make Qianqian not want you anymore, don't even think about coming back. We don't want you either. My mother smiled and stroked Fan Qianqian's hand, her eyes gentle. Then she turned her head and scolded me. I already said it was just other people's prank. I mumbled softly. My mother glared at me, and I didn't dare to argue further. Sure enough, my family status was precarious. Yes, I promise I'll cherish Qianqian and won't let your daughter-in-law get away. I replied with a grin. My mother slapped me on the back of the head. You're getting married soon and still not acting serious. Chapter 8. Look how wonderful Qianqian is. It's only because you're my son. Otherwise, how could I agree? I was a little helpless, and Qianqian covered her mouth and chuckled. Qianqian's parents across from us were also smiling and nodding, very satisfied with the atmosphere. Of course, the family atmosphere after their daughter's marriage is important. Currently, it seems everything is very good. And just at this moment, someone pushed the door open and entered. I raised an eyebrow. It was Yin Huanran. He was following behind a middle-aged man. The two looked very alike. Old Fan, long time no see. Father Fan Qianqian put on a polite smile. It has been a long time, but recently I've been busy with my little daughter's wedding, so I haven't had time to meet you for tea. Yun Huanran's father sighed somewhat. I didn't expect that so many years have passed since we last met. Back then, Huanran and Qianqian were childhood sweethearts, and now they're so grown up, I still remember how they played together when they were little. Speaking of children, the expressions of my girlfriend's parents softened a bit, feeling a little sentimental about the passage of time. My expression on the side was strange. My intuition told me that Yun Huanran and his son were up to no good. Sure enough, his next sentence was, I also remember that they too had a betrothal arranged in childhood. When Qianqian was little, she was going to marry Huanran and be his bride. As soon as the words fell, Everyone was stunned. The expressions of my girlfriend's parents both stiffened, looking at their old friend with some displeasure in their eyes. I watched them coldly, a surge of anger rising. Mother's smile slowly faded, but she didn't withdraw her hand holding Qianqian's. Father displayed a kind of imposing manner without anger, clearly somewhat angry. Thinking about it now, I still feel it's a bit of a pity. Huanran has also been thinking about Qianqian all these years, so even though Qianqian already has a boyfriend now, I still hope to give him a chance, to let the young people compete fairly again. How about it? The middle-aged man said with a sigh. I couldn't help but sneer, bringing up a childhood betrothal when we were discussing marriage. Knowing full well that Qianqian already has a partner, and has even reached the stage of discussing marriage, to still make such a request is truly outrageous. Fan Qianqian couldn't hold back anymore and interrupted, saying, What childhood betrothal? Is it appropriate to bring up words spoken during children's games now? She couldn't help but roll her eyes a little. I never said I wanted to be a bride. It was Lin Wan who insisted I be it back then, and I only reluctantly agreed. It's very likely because of this that my marriage luck has been blocked all these years. Luckily, I went to pray, which allowed me to meet Su Chung. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. She said it with a straight face, as if it were real. Really? That effective? When you and Ching get married, go pray again to fulfill the vow. My mother and my girlfriend's mother were both very serious, discussing going again another day. Being interrupted by them like this, Yun Huanran's father's train of thought was broken, and he was a little helpless. Seeing his father get shut down, Yun Huanran also stepped forward, looking at Fan Qianqian affectionately. Qianqian, don't you like me? Fan Qianqian was shocked and quickly waved her hand. What are you talking about? I've never liked you. The gifts and love letters I sent you when we were little, you received them all. It's just that I left back then, otherwise we would have been together long ago. Yin Huanran said seriously. What gifts? And love letters? Fan Qianqian's eyes widened, somewhat surprised. Yun Huanran was stunned, for the first time feeling like something unexpected had happened. I had Lin Wan pass them to you. Before he could finish speaking, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Turns out, among the childhood trio, there was also the biggest troublemaker. Obviously, the gifts and love letters that Yun Huanran had someone pass on back then ultimately never reached Fan Qianqian's hands. I really have to thank her properly. Chapter 9. What if Yun Huanran used sweet words and flowery language in a love letter to trick my future wife? I'd be at a huge loss. Thankfully, I have her. Fan Qianqian quickly reacted, her expression changing slightly, but she quickly said, Even if Lin Wan passed it to me, I wouldn't fall for you. Yun Huanran, we can only be friends, nothing more. Her words were like a knife, incredibly sharp. Yun Huanran's eyes instantly dimmed, and he turned and left in silence. The farce ended. My girlfriend intimately held my mother's hand and vowed, Annie, I'm set on Su Chung for life. I won't change my mind because of anyone else. My mother smiled and stroked her head tenderly. Of course, I believe you, Qianqian. If anyone tries to steal my daughter-in-law, I won't allow it. If he can't even protect Qianqian, I don't need this son. I shrugged. As expected, a grown son is less valued than a dog. Looking at the heartwarming scene, my eyes softened. Afterward, my usually stern father took me to his study. He handed me a document. I opened it and frowned. I thought I had seen the truth, but there was more to the story. Qianqian is the daughter-in-law chosen by the Su family. Who dares to bully her? If you can't protect her, don't call yourself my son. My father was incredibly domineering. Soon, the unwilling Yun Huanran found me again, hoping to gamble with me one more time. Whoever won would get Qianqian. Who do you think you are? You dare to compete with me for a woman on my turf? I kicked him over. Did he really think I was easygoing? Qianqian isn't an object. No one can decide her heart. You've already lost. I stepped on the back of his hand and spoke coldly. I'm never polite to those who try to lay a finger on my woman. Su Chung, you're using your power to bully me. Is your victory honorable? He struggled to get up, his face sting. Honorable? Do you think your plan to swallow the Fan family through Qianqian is honorable? I crouched down and looked down at him, my voice like ice. Did the Yun family return to Jiangqing for a glorious homecoming? Wasn't it because you were running away in defeat? Hoping to make a comeback here and make up for your losses by swallowing the Fan family's business. Do you think you could stay in Jiangxing if this information appeared in the newspapers? Or would you be torn to shreds and swallowed by your creditors after returning? I smiled contemptuously and threw the document at him. At this moment, I seemed like the villain. But I didn't care. To protect the one I love, I would do anything. Yun Huanran was terrified, practically scrambling at my feet. Please don't tell anyone. I promise. I'll stay away from Qianqian and never bother you again. I looked at him coldly, as if looking at a dog. Get out. I kicked him away indifferently. I still had to go choose a wedding dress with my wife. I might get scolded for being delayed by this jerk. In the wedding dress shop, I saw an incredibly stunning sight. Qianqian wore a white wedding dress, like a princess. I walked over, extended my hand, and smiled. My princess, will you marry me? Tears streamed down her face, and she smiled radiantly. I will. On our wedding day, I saw Lin Wan. I knew her recent situation. After being fired by Fan Qianqian, she became Yun Huanran's assistant. Unexpectedly, when Yun Huanran found out she had lost his gift and love letter, he fired her in a fit of rage. She didn't have much work experience, nor any special skills, so finding a job was difficult. I'm sorry, Qianqian. It's okay, I said with a smile. Then, can I be Qianqian's bridesmaid? She said, crying. Chapter 10. I smiled and shook my head. No, if you really want to admit your mistake, then stay away from Qianqian. I'm only saying this once. Even though I was smiling, my cold gaze made her tremble. She left in tears. Bride Qianqian walked to my side and asked me curiously, "Who was that?" I said softly, "The past is not to be dwelled upon. Cherish the person in front of you." The end.